Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us to have a little powwow, a chat about Millwall's season. This is my Millwall season review 2020-2021. The Lions again in the top half, 11th place. Little bit of a slowdown, big picture still performing well, maybe out-punching their spend and their size compared to some other teams, but a little bit of a sense of a treading water season. I think maybe a few Millwall fans would agree. We're going to have a look at what happened, and we're going to have a think about where they go next in that age-old cliche of the next level, which really for Millwall is the playoffs now after a couple of 8th place finishes in recent seasons. And there you go, 8th place again. That's where it was last season. You can see a very nice run at the end of the season. 4 wins in 6. 68 points. Decent total. That only 2 off the playoffs last season. Could have been them that snuck in as Forest messed it up at the end of the season. There's your team from Gary Rowett. Remember, Rowett came in midpoint during that season. Midpoint, I guess it was October, November time. I can't remember exactly when, but seemed to have been going ever so well last season. And Rowett and Jed Wallace and Millwall seemed a fairly good mix. Bialkowski playing well, obviously Cooper so reliant. Hutchison Williams, Mollenby on loan last season as well. Maybe some things to address in terms of goal scoring and strikers. But hey, well, should we have a look and see what Rowett did in the summer to address such things? And as I say, possibly, if they go in up Millwall from 8th, only 1 place higher, and you're just outside the playoffs. So you know what that means. There are the ins. Troy Parrott on loan from Spurs. Scott Malone on loan from Derby. Ken Zahor on loan again from West Brom. Ryan Woods on loan from Stoke. And Mason Bennett, undisclosed there from Derby. So look, first things first, there's some familiarity about a few of those guys. Malone, Woods and Bennett. All been at Millwall before. In fact, I think did all 3 of them, was Malone there towards the end of last year? I can't quite remember exactly the ins and outs of it, but Malone certainly at Millwall earlier in his career. But all sort of returning players, and particularly Woods was a deal that Stoke wanted to get off the books, and he worked with Rowett before at Stoke, and Bennett had been there on loan last season and really strikes me as a footballer who needs a permanent home. So that all seemed fairly, I would say treading water, but just maintaining the status quo. That's some deals that would make Millwall as good as they were last season. The 2 interesting ones that ultimately didn't really work out were, can he get a goal scorer in? And the answer was no. And it was Troy Parrott and Ken Zahor. And on paper, they look like good deals, don't they? Slaven Bilic signed Ken Zahor for a load of money, I think, for West Brom. And you would think he'd been up with Cardiff, hadn't he? He'd been up with West Brom. Maybe there's a bit of a sense was he was in squads that were promoted rather than he fired those teams to promotion. But okay, experienced guy, highly rated at Championship level. And then you go for the youngster as well, Troy Parrott at Spurs, and, you know, into the Republic of Ireland squad at a young age. And you think, okay, I like the sound of this. Championship ready guy who's gone for big money already. And a youngster, potential. Looks good on paper, doesn't it? But hey, football's not played on paper, is it? Aidan O'Brien and Jason McCarthy, out they go. Millwall again, steadfastly refusing to sell the big assets. I know George Saville had gone in previous years, and certain players have been cashed in on. But we're talking about Jake Cooper and Jed Wallace. Could it be a situation where you can bring in a nice sum of money for that player and then exponentially increase the quality of your squad? Sell one player who may be very good, replace them with 3 players. Is the benefit of the 3 players more than the benefit of the 1 players? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. John Berylson and Millwall and Rowett are not going to go down that road. not saying that's right or wrong. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And they certainly kept some quality in their squad, particularly keeping Jed Wallace. A good start, very much a good start. And I remember getting to that game number 8 and off Millwall go to Preston, and Ken Zahor did score in that game. And I'm looking at the table and Millwall are in there in third, 15 points from 8 games, 10 points from the last 4, with Zahor scoring, going away, doing the business. And I'm thinking, okay, this is working out all right. They've got the strikers sorted. They're in a good position after 8 games. Okay, look around that top sort of 4 or 5. Yes, Watford are there. Bournemouth are there. Norwich haven't quite got there yet. So the names we expected, the relegated Year 1 teams as well, particularly starting to mobilise. But Millwall in good position and where they would want to be, were they going to bridge the gap from 8th place just that little bit higher. Now, not good. Not good at all for the next 15 games. 1 win in 15. And if we draw back the table there, you can see 15 points from 8. Well, over the next 15 games, they're only going to get 11 points, which by my basic maths, we go a point per game to survive. It's relegation form for an entire third of a season. What went wrong? Inertia? I don't know. Lack of goals? A pragmatic style when the goals dry up? Those little nicked wins that maybe a Jed Wallace or, a snappy striker might help you get, they turn into draws, they turn into defeats. There are plenty of draws. You can see there 5 in a row. I'll tell you what else is drying up. Home wins as well. The only win in that 15 was away at Bristol City, and they're already careering into terrible form for the last 2/3 of the season. So, disappointing. 20 goals in 23 games, -4 on the goal difference. 26 points at the halfway mark. If you extrapolate that out, going to land at 52, going to just avoid relegation. So, very disappointing, really, to go from 8th place and what I thought was a good, on paper, again, I'll preface that, on paper, a good summer recruitment, add in a couple of good players that make sense and not really shifting out any big quality key players. Just a little bit of a letdown for the Millwall fans, I am sure. On we go to January, and there's a stunning admission that Troy Parrott wasn't quite ready for the Championship, and he's going to end up at my lot. He's going to end up at Ipswich. A fate worse than, well, you tell me. But Troy Parrott sort of bombed out there and not quite ready. Yuri Skalak, they've wasted a bit of money on him as well there. In come Michael Kieftenbelt and George Evans. So, look, Kieftenbelt and Evans, I think are good signings. Kieftenbelt, well, experienced central midfield. I'm sure the Millwall fans are gonna love him because he loves to tackle. And George Evans, 26. I don't believe he was signed. Was he signed by Lampard or Rowett? Someone will check me in the comments on that. But can play centre back, can play central midfield. That's a useful guy to have, especially given Rowett likes a 3. So I'm not criticising the signing of those 2 players, but where is the forward? Where are the goals? You would think this is blindingly obvious here. We're crying out at Millwall in January window for goals, and the striker never materialises, and one goes out as well. Yes, I understand Bradshaw's still there, Matt Smith is still there, John Daddy Bodvarsson is still there, Wallace will give you goals, Bennett will give you goals, and look, a lot of times, spoiler alert, later in the season, it is going to be Bennett and Wallace actually up top. Zahor, he's there, can you get him on the pitch? Didn't work out, did it? And I suppose the story of the season and why the drop down, it's only going to be a couple of places in the end. There is going to be a recovery, fortunately, for Millwall fans. But, yeah, very similar to a Swansea tale this season of where's your goal scorer? Much, much better. In fact, very good indeed in the second part of the season. 32 points in 17 games. And we all know if you sustain that level of form, you're definitely getting in the playoffs. Look at that. Lovely unbeaten run there in that first panel of fixtures there up on the left through January and February. And then still really decent form because, look, you got some defeats dropping into Barnsley and Blackburn and QPR where they were 2-0 up as well, weren't they, for goodness sakes? But 5 wins and 3 defeats in that 8 games. Well, that's still 15 points from 8. You'll take that if that maintains because of all the wins. And it's just very strange, isn't it, that you go this very, very binary type form where it was 15 points from 8, then 1 win in 15, and then 32 points in 17. Very much up, badly down, and then steeply up again. And still no striker in there. I suppose the goals are coming a little bit. And as I've said, pragmatic football. There's still 1-0s in there. There's still victories by single goal. Look, Huddersfield by a single goal. Reading by a single goal. Preston by a single goal. Derby by a single goal. And then Borough, Rotherham and Stoke, all victories by a single goal. That's when pragmatic football's going right, isn't it? But just, huge up, down, wasn't it? Let's see the run-in. A poor finish. 4 points in those last 6 games. And that's also factoring in great runs for Bournemouth and Barnsley. As the playoffs opened up, there was going to be a drop-off for Reading. There was going to be somebody to catch, but Barnsley and Bournemouth fly up there to 77 points. In the end, Millwall, having missed out last season by 2 points, miss out this season ultimately by 15 points. However, they wouldn't have needed 15 points to get above Reading. Would have only needed 9 points to get above Reading. But hey, maybe too much traffic in the way. Also, we shouldn't ignore last day of the season. Coventry 6, Millwall 1. Doesn't sound like the Millwall I've watched for the last sort of 3-4 seasons in the Championship. No one's really pounded them and hammered them like Coventry did. Okay, last day of the season. Anything can happen on the beach, but yeah. Let's have a look at the summary then. And there's plenty of it, so I'll try and go through quickly. First bullet point there, a high bar set, next level playoffs. And we should remember this at all times when we're talking about Millwall, is that the bar is set high. There is an argument that if you correlate finances with league position, for Millwall to be finishing 8th like they've done a couple of times is actually very good. And this season's finish, what was it, 11th in the end, is still decent. But the problem is they've set the bar so high with the 8th place finish and missing the playoffs by 2 points, haven't they? Striker recruitment, poor. I think that's fairly obvious that he's got a group of strikers at the start of the season, Bradshaw, Bodvarsson, Smith, etc. I've mentioned them all, haven't I? Even if I missed one out, my apologies. Brings in Parrott and Zohore, and not going to pile in on those 2 players. Parrott is back at Spurs and off to Ipswich in January. And Zohore, it's hard for them to get him on the pitch, isn't it? It didn't work. For whatever reason, it didn't work. Good start. Momentum, question mark. Was a good start? A push from last season? And was that 1 win in 15 Rowett's first drop-off as Millwall manager? I guess it was, and it certainly lasted a long time. Were they just riding the momentum from last season? And did it drop into nothingness? Well, we know it did. There you go. Drop-off in goals and wins. Home form badly affected. Don't score goals, you don't win, especially if you're playing pragmatic football particularly. You need to take those chances, get those 1s and 2s, and you're looking good. And the home form as well. I've heard many theories about COVID and, places like Luton where it's tight in and Millwall where those fans are so sort of intimidating to even their own players and opposition players. Were they disproportionately affected? Millwall? I don't know. You tell me. We'll never know because fans weren't there. Let's see next season if the home form goes up steeply. I think it might do. Improved second half of the season. 26 points from the first half of the season. 36 in the second half, so 10-point increase. But look, they would have needed 51. So basically, from the last 23 to get in the playoffs, Millwall would have needed 2.21 points per game. What I'm saying in a very nerdy mathematical way was, after that 15-game, 1 win in 15, the basic peak of where they could get was going to be 8th, 9th, 10th, and they've ended up 11th. So, again, in a long-winded way, left themselves too much to do at the halfway point, despite a very, very decent run of what was it, 32 in 17. So, 8th, 21st, bit of an outlier that looks, doesn't it? 8th and 11th. What next in Rowett's second full season? Well, lots of questions on that. Obviously, Białkowski in goal is player of the year again. That's fine. Can they get Scott Malone? They'll hope they can. I think he'll want to go, won't he? It's no basket case at Derby. They might be able to get him on the cheap. And why would he go anywhere else, frankly? McNamara's come in. Bit of a challenge for Romeo. Nice. I like that down the sides. Again, we're going to get Jake Cooper. Will someone make a bid? Will Big Sam come down with West Brom and offer 5-6 million quid to take Cooper to a parachute team? I don't know. Millwall, it does feel like they might need a sale this summer, given there wasn't one last year and COVID and all of that good stuff. Remember, my view on this is it's no problem to sell. You have to sell in the Championship. Look at the wealth distribution. It's how you replace that is the key. So we'll see in terms of centre back. Will they get Woods back? Rowett loves Woods. Billy Mitchell, really pleased to see him coming in. Ben Thompson, I'm guessing fitness problems this season. We didn't see a lot of him. Evans, I like that. There's a team to build around. Again, there'll be rumours linking Jed Wallace away. Will they cash in? But we don't know. Just remember, Millwall fans, don't be afraid of selling. It's not the end of the world. We've seen teams, Sheffield United and Brooks got promoted the next season. Norwich and Madison got promoted the next season. Leeds and Chris Wood got promoted a couple of seasons later. There's often examples you have to sell, don't you? Cash in, spend it right, no big deal. And if that means, if losing a Jed Wallace for maybe a club transfer record means in comes a striker, and that needs to be remedied, doesn't it? Because it does feel like they've tried and failed with a fair few strikers. All of this since Morrison and Gregory. There was no issue up front at Millwall when those two were there, and it feels like they haven't quite got as good a level of striker or goal-scoring output since then. Yes, I understand it was a different style of football. Harris was quite up and at them 4-4-2. Rowett, bit more pragmatic, need those individual little moments of quality and to take the chances when they are created, and don't quite have that player in the club at the moment, do they? That would be my views on Millwall. I've had my say, now you have yours. Let me know, particularly your analysis of this season. Big picture for me, it's probably a thumb up. I think it's always going to be a thumb up if Millwall are in the top half until they can start raising big levels of money. And then really the only way to do that is through recruitment and player acquisition and recruitment churn, and away you go. So I guess it's one of those from me, nearly a thumbs up, a thumbs diagonally up. You let me know what you think, and what does Rowett need to do going forward? Not only in terms of recruitment, but could he tweak the style a little bit? Is there room to open up and maybe create a few more penalty box entrances and shots at goal and things of that nature? We know he can set a team up to get draws and not lose in the Championship, but maybe just if that chances created stat went up, maybe a 15-game run with only one win and the goals dropping off might not happen. Also, what difference will it be opening up the glory that is the Den to those wonderful Millwall fans, and that noise we get in there? What difference will that make next season? Let me know what you think. That is my Millwall season review for 2021. Thank you very much for watching, and it's a big over and out from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button, and to be notified every time we upload, ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.